Hey everyone, my name is Wandimi. Today we're going to talk about pricing. So I'm always on Twitter and I did a tweet about how freelancers need to price their services. So I've been working online for let's say 4 years now, and one thing that has been really challenging me is pricing. So I'm sorry if there's any background noise. I'm filming this on a Sunday and it's a bit noisy. I'm going to be looking down because I've written a few notes. I don't want to forget anything, and we're going to talk about price today. Kenya is a very interesting place, especially when it comes to freelancers and bloggers pricing themselves, because you might be thinking that I'm supposed to be paid 3,000. For example, for me, one of the price that I give is like 3,000 for 1,000 words of copy. So I should be paid that much, but then you go to a certain brand who wants you to do some written work for them, and they're like, oh, that's too high, or your price is too high. I'm sure we've all received sort of something like that, or so and so charges this. Why are you charging me this for blogging? Why are you charging me this for a campaign? So before we even start talking about pricing, how do you arrive at a price? I'm going to give you different pricing strategies that people might use. Some of them are adapted from businesses, because I do have a digital marketing business, so I do price some of my things depending on businesses. But today I don't want to talk so much about businesses. I want to talk about you and your services. So let's get on with the first one. The first one is the competitor pricing. If let's say a writer, I need to look at what other writers in Kenya are charging. So people who do what I do. For example, I used to be a food writer. So when I was a food writer, I would check my prices against other food writers. People are very skeptical to give away details on how much they charge for services. For example, about food, how much they charge. And the simple thing to do is when go for events, and when you come across someone who you have a rapport with, you can ask them, oh, by the way, I love your work, but I was curious, how much do you charge for your services? Some people will happily oblige, but those who don't, move on. Someone else will very well tell you. But I can tell you for a fact, I know Kenyan bloggers, the ones that I know, charge, for example, food bloggers charge for, I'm so afraid to give a range because your range might not be here, but I think they charge somewhere between 8,000 for an article to all the way to 20,000. So that is a sponsored, review or an article. It all depends with you. So you need to do that competitor pricing and see what other freelancers in your niche are charging. So if you work online, obviously you can also see what other freelancers are doing. For example, a site like upwork.com, which is a site I frequent very much, I can look at other writers. How much are they being paid per hour? Especially the per hour charge is the hardest figure to come to, because so many people are charging cheap, and me as a client, I'm going to pick the freelancer with the lowest rate and highest qualifications. So me as a freelancer, I must be able to price myself very well. The next model which businesses use, I've told you I'm going to adapt a lot of things from what businesses use, is the cost plus pricing model, whereby you look at your cost. How much money have I used to produce this blog post, and how much will I make a profit? For example, if let's say I'm doing a campaign for you and the campaign needs photos, let's say you've invited me to your restaurant or to your wine shop, I need to put in my costs. I need to pay my photographer, I need to pay for the work that I'm going to do, I need to pay for my internet. So those costs are divided according to fixed costs and variable costs. Fixed costs are costs that obviously you incur every time. For example, if you've bought gear, you have to really account for that. If you have expensive gear, all these are personal costs. Fixed costs, for example, you can say I'll be charging 2k more to account for a camera that I bought that was worth like 80k or 60k. So you need to know how to price, and pricing is different from everyone. So there's fixed cost and then there's variable cost. My variable costs are, for example, a restaurant that is in Karen and a restaurant that is in Mombasa, or a restaurant that is in the CBD. I'm not going to charge them the same because I have to account for my travel. So travel is relative. Did I use an Uber? Is it a place that is far? Am I using fuel? Am I using public means? Whatever you do, you have to account for that, and those are the variable costs. I talk so fast. I'm trying to get this video a bit short so that it's not long and it's lost its meaning. That's why I'm talking fast, and I'm trying to cover all the points. The next type of pricing strategy is the recipe model. This is something that we coined at Artist whereby we think that, for example, it was very hard for us to price. So we do digital marketing. So it was hard for us to price ourselves. And we decided, because every client had different requests, some would want social media management services, others would want social media coupled with blogging, others would want different things. So what I like to do is break it down. So think about baking a cake. A black forest and a, let's say, a red velvet won't be the same, or a fruit cake, and all these cakes won't be the same because of the ingredients used and how they've arrived at the specific cake. The same thing with your services. If you meet someone and they want you to do blogging for them, they want you to do video strategy for them, they want you to film for them and all those things, you have to really know how to break down those little costs. So you need to use the recipe method, whereby you talk about a recipe, you deconstruct your whole service, and you say branding is 20,000 per month, social media management is 20,000 per month, depending on how the frequency of posts. Email marketing is like 20,000 per month, also depending on the frequency of posts. For example, if I'm doing weekly emails, so you give that to the client and they can choose a recipe that is specific to them. And then the best thing is that once they choose a recipe and they say they want like video marketing, they want email marketing, they want social media, and maybe it has come to something like 80,000, you can then discount and tell them my flat fee will now be 70,000. That's a very, very unique way and simple way of, you know, deconstructing pricing strategies that look very, or pricing models that look very complicated for you. So do the recipe method, deconstruct it, list down the ingredients or the services, and yeah, that will help you decide how much your services are worth. Next is the perception of price. We live in an age where people think that the higher priced item is more premium. Someone will go to China, buy a handbag or order in a handbag for 1,000 Kenya shillings and then price it at 2,000 Kenya shillings. Someone else will do the same and price it at 7,000 shillings. But because you think price expensive equals, you know, quality, you're going to go for the one that is 7,000, and they've all come from the same warehouse, they've all come from the same produce manufacturer, so I should say. So there's also that thing. Are you dealing with a premium market? If you're dealing with a premium market, obviously you're going to increase your price because, you know, you want to be more for that kind of market. And what kind of clients are you trying to attract? So for me, let me give you a small example with what I do. I work with small businesses and individuals who want to brand themselves. So my market is it's not very luxury per se. It's more of people with not so big budgets, medium to large budgets. And yeah, I'm willing to do that because that's my niche market. I want to help the individual who doesn't have a big budget. I want to help them, you know, come up with their social media pages, make logos for them and all that we do in our company. However, someone else may be wanting to target luxury clientele. So if they're charging, if for example, I'm charging 60K for a branding consultation for 1 hour per month, for 1 hour, like 3 days every month, this person may be charging even triple or even 4 times or whatever amount for the same type of service, and maybe I'm even doing more in terms of return. So that's another way you price your stuff, and it's okay. Also, like for example, in photographers, I've seen photographers who are very expensive because they're targeting a larger clientele. So for example, if one of their photo shoots could be like 400,000, while you as a beginning photographer or a photographer targeting a more diverse market, maybe like 20K per photo shoot. So it all depends with your market and the perception of price. Another thing that depends with pricing is what is your long-term effect. If I did a branding consultation, like sort of a branding consultation where I opened an offer where people can come in. That was in last year. So what happens in such a part is I wanted to move volumes. If you want to move volumes, if you want more people to sign in, you're going to lower your price. However, if you don't want to move volumes, you just want like you want to sell 3 premium branding consultations a month, your price has to be very high. So it's all up to you. It depends. Are you trying to move more products? Are you targeting volume, or are you targeting the quality? So impact on volume or impact on profit. So I feel like for me, I'd rather sell more volume. This is something debatable that we can talk about. For me, I'd rather move more volumes. I'd rather impact more people, but my price is low. The reverse may be for you, so it all depends. Another bonus point before we conclude is that, have you noticed that sometimes you can change your price depending on the client? If Coca-Cola comes to you today and they want you to do some blogging work for them, and another maybe smaller brand that was started last year comes, obviously you're not going to give Coca-Cola the same price that you gave the other brand. It's common sense. So sometimes you're free to be flexible on your charges. At the end of the day, you need to be very discerning when it comes to pricing. Try to get as much information as possible about the client, what they want from you. Write it down, have your contract ready. As a conclusion, as a freelancer, just do your research and find out how much people are charging for their services. One thing maybe I should say is there's no concrete formula on how much you should charge for a service. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. However, whatever you charge has to cover for your time, has to cover for your value, has to cover for your cost. Any input that you put has to cover for other people you've outsourced. Obviously, we can't do it all. For example, if I get a job to make a website, I'm going to give it to somebody else who works in websites in my small company. So it all depends with what you decide. For me, I just think that you better just come up at a figure, but this figure, let it be something you've thought about, something you've researched, and something that makes sense for you. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, and share this video with somebody who is struggling on how to price their services. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. Bye.